Now, if you're someone like me who casually doesn't want to mingle with the human race, but wants to see what these humans are up to on any given day of the week, you peek your head out and you might have heard that there's a woman who is proudly promoting the fact that one day she was going to make love to 100 men in a day. And you might have thought to yourself, that's pretty weird, and kept your life moving. Well, 2 weeks ago, a documentary came out where the same woman did indeed have coitus with 100 men. And there's a specific scene in that documentary, because I watched it recently, where she's crying. And a lot of people have took that and made it this big think piece about, oh, well, it's clear that this was just an idea of someone thinking that this would be a great idea, but now they're having to deal with the ramifications of letting a bunch of men into their soul. No, she was crying because, and I feel like this won't be the last time I say this in this video, she was upset that she didn't satisfy all these men on this one random day. And oh, by the way, for anyone who thinks sex education isn't needed in schools, I would just like for you all to know that this woman, even though she had some individuals come in who signed contracts, sent in STI and STD tests to make sure that they were clean, did not have enough men to accomplish the task. So she was on the phone calling random people, asking them to show up without proper background and just letting them run roughshod all over that white body. So please let me spread a little bit of propaganda and say we need sexual education across the board in all of these schools, because these children grow up stuck, stupid, dumb, disease-ridden, and a baby on the way, and they too dumb to Google where the abortion clinic at or where the doctor is to further create the process of creating life, because boy, they need help and the adults are not helping them. But among all the reactions, there was one article that struck me, because in a world where a grown adult makes a grown adult decision, where she's making money and a lot of it, having coitus, doing feet pics, teases, and alike, and being satisfied with that, for some reason, it all trickles down to it being my fault, because how dare I, a man, see things like this? Shame on the men exploiting Lily Phillips. Lily Phillips, who had coitus with 101, well, I thought it was 100 men in a single day in October, has hit the headlines. But the focus should instead be on the men that exploit her. No, madam, I will not allow this type of rhetoric to exist past this article without scrutiny, because this wasn't men exploiting women. This was women, let's be honest, exploiting men and their lustful desires, but their insecurities, who don't know how to communicate with women so that they can maybe get a girlfriend and live out their sexual desires consensually with them. So they see someone online and they think, oh, $50 for some spit, because yes, somebody in that documentary paid for spit, and I believe their name in a jar, because the kink only goes so far. This ain't the exploitation of a woman, it's the reverse. And honestly, it's really not exploitation if people are paying for it. It's a business where it's dominated by women and they make a lot of money. And you know what? I'm not even really mad at it, because I don't have to deal with it. I have other things to occupy my time so that I don't have to worry about looking at a woman online and paying her $50, $100, or even $1,000 for her to even acknowledge that I exist, because that's not how Leon operates. Leon just gets booty naked and rewatches old shows to enjoy his life, because that creates the great stimuli that I need. But back to the main point, you can't sit here and make this be about exploiting men. This woman, this is the second time I'm bringing this up, cried because she felt like she didn't satisfy all of these men. She created a system that was not really planned out in any capacity, to where if you were just a regular degular and your bro came picked you up from the airport and you told them to drop you off at this place, and you just so happened to mention that your buddy dropped them off, you were told to call them back and bring them in and hope that they would participate. This was a grown adult women. And you know what? I'm tired of this stupid ass fucking hand-holding process a lot of people have when they get older. I'm sorry, but as someone who's made a drastic amount of mistakes, that woman is an adult. And I'm not really going to sit here and play this game of she was exploited by who? The money? Because it wasn't men forcing her to do this. This was her own escapade. This was her own journey. This was her own choice. And she fulfilled it. She looked beat down afterwards, but she did it. She fulfilled her purpose. And you would think after realizing and accomplishing the goal, one would take a break to rest the body. And you know what? She is doing that. To come back stronger and have coitus with 1,000 men in a day, because the gimmick don't stop just at 1. You gotta go for 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then somehow reach 1,000. I necessarily don't know how one could even accomplish that in a full day, unless these are people who are already hard and they just ready to bust. And as soon as they get inside, they just pow and they just go about their merry way. This is going to be something arguably next to impossible, and I will be waiting to see the sequel documentary and see how ragged and beat up this woman is after, and how somehow it still is my fault because I'm a man and men created this market and women took over the market and made a lot of money out of the market because now they don't have to be whores and sluts. They could be their own personal pimps and they could sit behind a keyboard and a phone, take a couple lewds and make millions of dollars, because if you got the face and you got some vivacious titties and you got a curvaceous body, you can definitely make some money off it. It's still somehow my fault. You queens benefit and I'm the one to blame when you seen crying doing shit you choose to do. No. That's not how that's gonna fucking operate. But I am a misogynistic man, according to people who don't like me, and so I will use my casual shield to defend me. Ladies.
It seems people are struggling to understand the narrative that this girl, Lily, is pushing out on social platforms where unfortunately our children are on, okay? Not my child specifically, but a huge amount of children are on this app and others, okay? Now, if you look for all of her previous podcasts and interviews, etc. and stuff like that, she says a lot of dangerous things, okay? Dangerous things, worrying things, offensive things. I could go on and on and on, okay? But I'll give you a few examples. She was asked on an interview, what would she do if she contracted AIDS, okay? And she said, well, it'd just be a bad day if that happened. He continued to say, well, you're not worried? She's not worried. If it happens, it happens. Now, what about all them victims that contract it when they've been raped by others, okay? What about that other people that get into relationships unknowingly and they contract it from a partner that doesn't tell them? What about those people who don't do these things, okay, but they end up contracting them and then they're ill forever, okay? That's one thing. Another thing, the narrative that she's pushing out to these young girls and guys is that by doing what she is doing, okay, you will gain fame and money, all right? So all your young children, young adults watching this thinks, oh, that's a good idea. That's how I can get famous. That's how I can get money, okay? That's why it's dangerous as well. They could put themselves in situations where they're trying to recreate the same thing and it could turn very dangerous very, very quickly, all right? Now, you're defending her by saying, I feel sorry for her because she's crying, she regrets what she's done. She doesn't regret what she's done because she's now going for the 1,000 men mark, okay, in January. That's what she's aiming for, okay? So she doesn't regret anything. Another thing that's really concerning is because she is pushing what she's doing so much on this app, these children are searching for these videos, okay? And they can be searched for and they can be found very, very easily, which is different to the industry where they're not pushing it on these platforms where there is children and young adults, all right? So it's a completely different scenario, okay? So you're saying go for the whole industry. No, because the whole industry isn't doing what she's doing, okay? They're not. Also, these videos that she's doing with all these men, what about women or men that have been attacked by groups, okay? And they see this on here. They see people laughing about it. You see her laughing about it. But they've been attacked by groups of people, okay? And that's all right. There's so much more I could go into, okay? But I think you should do your own research before you start defending people on this app. Because a lot of you don't come back in the comments when I make you realise who you're defending. Do your research before you defend certain people on this app, okay? I'm going to go to sleep very peacefully. Well, I'll try to anyway with my daughter. But knowing that what I'm saying is very relevant, and yeah. Anyway, I could say a lot more, but I can't think at the moment. That's my ADHD brain gone. Anyway, good night.
I just watched the Lily Phillips documentary, and all the clips flying around online of her crying and overwhelmed after her day where she was with 100 men, maybe 101. Well, those are actually taken out of context, because in the documentary, she's crying because she feels like she disappointed those men. On top of being overwhelmed by the whole experience, she is worried that the men that flew out to meet her and were told that they were going to get 5 minutes with her actually got 2 or 3, and some of them didn't go all the way. So she's just like, oh my gosh, these people who support me are now disappointed, and that really makes me upset. Everyone is going to have an opinion on Lily and what she does, but you can even hear it from the horse's mouth, and you might not believe it, but she's letting us know people forget that this is my fantasy too. She loves her job. She has 9 people on her team, and she's going to keep doing it because she truly enjoys it. One thing that came up multiple times in the documentary is that she kind of just does want a boyfriend. She wants to get married one day, and she does worry her line of work will stop her from that, but she thinks that one poor guy in the world is going to be okay with all of this. Despite her tears at the end of the film, and even the filmmaker saying, you know, I think she bit off a little bit more than she can chew, she even announced that in February of next year, she's going to be doing something 10 times the amount that she just did. I highly recommend this documentary. Lily is completely demonized in the media, but she's really just human, and you get to see that in this doc.
And as you leave this video, I would just like to quote the most infamous quote from the Bible itself. The Bible says, "Thou shalt rap it before thou tap it." Mwah! Goodbye.